Welcome, everyone. It's Miss Gisa, and today I have my fun guest to help celebrate. We have Kellie from At the Liquid Medium and my daughter Adele. Are you all ready for a Mardi Gras celebration? Miss Kellie, what are we going to make today?
Bonjour, y'all! Today's culinary adventure takes us to the beautiful and eclectic city of New Orleans in honor of Mardi Gras.
The state of Louisiana is rich in tradition, and many traditions are represented by the food and famous recipes handed down from generation to generation. We'll explore one of the most celebrated food items for Mardi Gras, king cake. King cake is a colorful sweet pastry with a hidden plastic baby inside. Miss Gisa, can you explain what the colors on the king cake represent and why there's a plastic baby inside?
Sure. Well, the color combinations of green, gold, and purple, which we're all wearing today, represent faith, power, and justice. The baby symbolizes luck and prosperity. Whoever gets the piece of cake is celebrated as king for the day and has to bring the king cake to the party the following year.
I love when food traditions bring people together to celebrate prosperity, joy, and positivity. The symbolism of king cake comes from a Roman Catholic tradition related to the Epiphany.
This is the day Jesus made himself known to the three wise men. King cake season begins on the day of the Epiphany, January 6th, and ends on Fat Tuesday, which is Mardi Gras Day, before Lent begins.
Now that we've learned about the traditions that influence the recipes for king cake, let's talk about the science used to make this delicious treat. There are many chemical reactions that occur when we make baked goods. Adele, can you explain to our friends how the dry ingredients mixed with the wet ingredients form the gluten that will hold our king cake together?
Sure.
The dehydrated yeast is added in and releases carbon dioxide, which forms bubbles into the dough. The gas bubbles will make your dough light, tender, and fluffy. Gluten forms when flour is mixed with water. Protein molecules build from smaller amino acid molecules combined to form gluten molecules. Dough has an elastic texture because of the gluten molecules, which under a microscope appear coiled with many kinks. When dough is stretched, the kinks in the gluten molecules straighten as the coils extend and the protein molecules get longer. The elasticity of gluten molecules are what hold the gas bubbles in so they don't burst through the surface of the dough, and that's how you get a nice crust and soft, fluffy middle part of your pastry bread.
Adele, thank you for explaining how science plays an important role in the delicious baked goods we eat. Now that we know the role of gluten in our king cake recipe, are we ready to see how the whole king cake is made?
Yes.
Bonjour, and welcome to the Liquid Medium Laboratory. Today we are going to make a cake that is rich in tradition, and I think it's going to be really rich in flavor as well. I have everything set up, and what we like to call this in the kitchen is mise en place, and that simply translates to everything in its place. And so what I did is I went ahead and set up all of the ingredients because we're going to add them into this mixer here. So we have our dry ingredients and our wet ingredients. We're using 3.5 cups of flour. I'm using King Arthur flour, and I actually am using their recipe for the king cake. And then we're also going to use some salt. The yeast that Adele taught us will be making our carbon dioxide and helping our dough to rise. And then I have some dried milk, some sugar. I have 2 full eggs and 1 yolk because we're going to reserve some of the egg yolk to brush on top of the cake. And then we're going to add some grated lemon peel, and then I'll actually grate up some nutmeg to put in as well. So let's put our ingredients in our mixing bowl. I like to add all the dry ingredients first, and then the wet ingredients. There's that magical yeast. Got so much science happening in this recipe. It's really exciting. Here comes the eggs, milk. Forgot to mention that we're using 8 tablespoons of butter. Have it kind of in a melted, softened state. With baking, it's really important that you pay attention to the recipe, what it calls for. For instance, this recipe called for room temperature eggs and milk and melted butter. And that really makes a difference in the chemistry of what your baked goods, how they come out. And last but not least, I'll grate some nutmeg in. Nutmeg is wonderful for baking, but it can be very overpowering. I just like to eyeball it. It calls for about 1/4 teaspoon, which is not much. So let's start our mixer. And we're going to mix this until it's a nice silky dough. I have my spatula here so I can periodically stop and scrape the sides down. And I'm using the dough hook attachment. Oh, I can smell the nutmeg. It's so nice mixed with the lemon. All that buttery goodness. It's starting to form. We're getting our gluten molecules activated. So all of our wet and dry ingredients are nice and incorporated. You can see it is a silky but sticky dough, which is why you can mix it by hand, but it would be a little bit messy. So what I'm going to do is get all of this dough back into the bowl, and then from there we are going to cover this up and let it sit at room temperature for an hour, and it's going to rise. It won't double in size like a bread, but it should get nice and poofy. So I'm just going to pop this cover on it and we'll give it a rest. Check back in an hour. We're going to make an ooey gooey cream cheese filling. I can't wait to try it. Here I have 1/2 cup of sugar and 3 tablespoons of flour. We're just gonna mix this up by hand in a bowl. I have a slightly beaten egg at room temperature. And I'm really excited about the cream cheese that I'm using. It's actually a kefir cheese that I picked up at the farmer's market. This one was from the Sherman Oaks Farmer's Market. I'm really excited to use this in our recipe. I think it's gonna add some nice flavor and some good nutrients to our sweet treat. So all these ingredients I left out at room temperature for a short time. That makes everything easier to mix. And also everything will cook at a nice even temperature. And the last piece in this puzzle is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And now I'll just stir this by hand until it's all combined. And in a few short minutes, we'll be ready to add this filling to our king cake. Okay, so our dough has risen. We are ready to shape and bake. I went ahead and got my hands nice and clean because we will be working with our hands quite a bit for this part when we shape the dough. So let's take a look at how it turned out. You can see it's poofed up here. And what you can't tell is that I've lightly greased the countertop. This is cleaned off with a little bit of butter on it. So when I stretch out this dough, it doesn't stick to the countertop. And what you're gonna wanna do is stretch it into a rectangle, a long, narrow rectangle. And the measurements are going to be roughly 6 inches wide and 24 inches long. That way we'll be able to twist this into a circular shape once we get the filling. And you can see this is a really nice, easy dough to work with, which is fun as you're practicing to get more advanced with your baking. It's nice to start off with these recipes that are a little bit easier. So I have my yardstick here. Let's see how close I am to those measurements. So our length should be, oh my goodness, like 24. I'm just about there. And about 6 inches wide. I want to just bring this in just a little bit. I'm going to kind of bring the edges up here because what we're going to do is put the filling right down the middle and then bring it together so the filling is encased in the dough. That looks good to me. Let's grab our filling. As they like to say, New Orleans, laissez les bons temps rouler, which means let the good times roll. I'm gonna cover this up with just a clean, damp cloth. We're gonna let it sit for another hour before we pop it in the oven and see how it goes. This is 1 egg white with 1 tablespoon of water. So I'm just gonna lightly brush this over the surface of the cake. And then we're going to put it in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, we'll check it. We'll put a little aluminum foil tent over it so it doesn't get too done on the top. And then it'll bake for another 30 minutes. In the meantime, we'll make the really fun frosting that goes on top. Okay, we'll check back in 20 minutes. So now let's make our frosting. I have 2 cups of powdered sugar in a bowl. We're going to just do a pinch of salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then you'll add in milk by the tablespoon to get the frosting to the consistency that you like. Once we have this to a consistency that we like, I'm going to add in the fun colors. So we'll end up with gold, purple, and green to decorate our king cake once it's cooled down. So you can see this isn't very liquidy. I'm gonna go ahead and add some more milk to it. So now for the fun part, we're going to color our frosting. So we're gonna get purple, gold, and green. The food coloring I got is from a company called Watkins, and it's all natural. It's made out of vegetables. There's nothing artificial about it, which is great. And then we have our king cake baby. Way back when they would actually bake a little porcelain baby into the cake. This is a plastic piece, so we're gonna just tuck this into the cake. We'll hide it, and whoever gets this piece will be the king for the day. So let's color our frosting. And this is where you really get to practice your art. So this will be our green. I think we'll need a few more drops. We want nice bright colors for how festive Mardi Gras is. And then what's fun is you can kind of swirl them all together on the cake so it looks like a tie-dye. Now let's do gold. So pretty, so fun. Next, we'll do purple. Purple, you're going to mix your blue and red food coloring. And voila, we have purple. So now, as soon as our cake is cooled off, we'll do the last finishing touch, our fun decorations. So our king cake is done. I think it looks really good. What we're gonna do is now let this sit on the sheet for 15 minutes, and then we'll transfer it over to the cooling rack. So here is the frosted, finished king cake. We'll see who finds the baby, who will be king for the day.
I'm sad to say I've never been to New Orleans, so when I was researching recipes and traditions for king cake, I watched a YouTube video about Gambino's bakery, and we'll include a link to that with this video because it's a pretty interesting story. But they are one of the oldest bakeries in town, and they'll ship king cake to you if you don't want to attempt to make your own. They are definitely on my list of places to visit when I plan a trip to New Orleans. But for now, are you ready to try my homemade king cake?
Yes.
Let's get some plates.
All right. And I wonder if one of you will end up with the piece with our baby in it. So I have to dig around a little bit, but watch your teeth.
It's really good. Kellie, it's so moist and like the perfect amount of sweetness.
I was able to use a couple local ingredients with the kefir cream cheese, so that always makes me happy. I love to support.
One of the specialty drinks in New Orleans is a cafe au lait, and it is steamed milk, and it's a coffee drink, but it also has a roasted chicory root in it. And roasted chicory is a really interesting plant. It has a lot of really good nutritional properties to it.
And it's nice because it kind of breaks up the caffeine in the coffee. So it's a good beverage. Yeah.
We'll see who brings the king cake to our next party.
Well,
and
it's
then
not me.
maybe I'll make the gumbo next time.
That would be fun. We'll all bring a traditional dish. Adele, what's happening over there? Have you hit something?
Yeah, I can't figure it out.
I think we've got it. Hold on.
There it is.
Winner, winner, winner.
She was like, everybody, let's see that baby Jesus.
Adele, we get to celebrate you today.
Queen for the day.
So you're royalty for the day. You are the king of this party. But next year, you're in charge of bringing the cake.
Well, now we know how to make it thanks to you, Kellie.
Yeah, again, we're always interested if you try out these recipes. I had a few friends contact me and show me their broth that they had going from our last episode, which just warms my heart. And I really love that brings us all together at this time. Next episode, I think we have mushrooms on deck, and there is so much amazing science that we're going to talk about, and I'm really excited to share the recipes with you.
Yes, thank you, Kellie, and look forward to a Mardi Gras story coming up, and also lots about mushroom and fungi as we head into our life cycle of mushroom. Well, Kellie, thank you again for being with us and for taking us on this amazing culinary adventure. We are excited to see you again soon.
So in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe so you stay updated on all our latest episodes.
Remember to hit that like button
And share.
See you next time.
Bye. Au revoir.